Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to the Commander-in-Chief of the EFF, Julius Sello Malema, EFF officials, commissars, the leaders of the Progressive Caucus, and sympathizers of the revolutionary movement in Africa that turns 11 years old on the 27th of July. To be young is to be in a stage of becoming, of working towards your goals and aspirations to transition from being dependent to independent. However, the youth of this country are perpetual children, and some will never know independence until their old age. At the realization of how doomed we are under your leadership, Mr. President, thousands continue to give in to Nyaupe, and young women and girls amount to bottle girls for you and your friends at the peak of their vibrancy and zeal for life and prosperity. We live with our parents, and finding a 40-year-old man asking his mother for bread is more common than otherwise. This phenomenon is known as the Ramaphosa economy. Joblessness, poverty, and constantly questioning if we are truly the young adults of today. In 2018, Mr. President, you launched the Jobs Summit and promised the youth of this country 275,000 jobs per year. You failed. In 2019, you promised 2 million jobs and an end to hunger, halving of crime, and empowering the school curriculum where a 10-year-old will be able to read for comprehension. You failed. In 2020, you unveiled a 100 billion rand fund to create jobs in the public sector for the youth. You failed. You launched the NSP against GBV and femicide, and 4 years later, on the eve of elections 2024, the murderer of Kirisaleti Elsin Donje was granted bail of 2,000 rands. You failed. In 2021, you spoke about building new cities, and the National Youth Development Agency would fund 1,000 young entrepreneurs in 100 days. You failed. In 2022, plagued by your own failures over the years, you promised the National Youth Service would create a modest 50,000 jobs in its first phase. You failed. In 2023, you came here and praised yourself for the Youth Employment Service that placed 100,000 youth in peace jobs that lasted nothing more than 12 months. Once again, you failed. Yesterday, you came to this house and promised 2 million jobs to the youth of South Africa. It is thus fair and deliberate to then say that this time next year, the result will once again be not achieved and failed. When you became president in 2018, youth unemployment was sitting at 43%. And nearly 7 years into your presidency, youth unemployment currently sits at 45% for individuals aged 15 to 34 and a whopping 59% for young people aged 15 to 24. Your presidency is characterized by many promises and many failures. It is now apparent that as the youth of today, we must ready ourselves psychologically like the youth of 1976 for the biggest fight against the establishment. The establishment has charged you, Mr. President, at the forefront as the weapon that is formed against us. The youth of today, like Nelson Mandela, who is now hailed as an icon of peace, must be ready to be called terrorists. We must be ready to be called criminals. We must be ready to be jailed for crimes we did not commit. We must be ready to be character assassinated like Ida Mtwana, Robert Sobukwe, Nkgopotshe Tiro, Steve Biko, Winnie Mandela, and Julius Malema. But amongst ourselves as the youth of this country, we know who the true criminals are. We know who stole our land from our grandmothers. We know who stole our mines. We know who stole COVID-19 funds that was meant to keep our people alive. We know who stole Tembisa Hospital money. We know who stole SAA, ISCO, Sasol, Telkom. We know who is now stealing Eskom, Transnet, PRASA, and even privatizing our water. All the while, you are creating an impression that these are natural disasters, despite the fact that they are orchestrated by the true criminals of the government of today, deployed by the Oppenheimers. We know who stole the money that is meant to eradicate pit toilets in the Eastern Cape. We know who stole NSFAS money. We know the mafias of the Steenhof heist. We know the thugs of the Skills Development Fund. And we definitely know who the #1 money launderer is. There is absolutely nothing that the establishment, masquerading as a government of national unity, can do to deter us, the youth of today, from seeking out our generational mission. The government of the ANC has not fooled all of us. It is under the ANC that we saw privatization of state-owned entities at a large scale, much higher than that of the apartheid government. A trail of privatization that is so aggressive that even our healthcare isn't spared through the NHI. The rise of the establishment and the collapse of the state takes shape under the government of the ANC. That is the legacy of the ANC today. The positive outcomes of all of this neoliberal facade of the government of the day is that we now rightly characterize the neoliberal agenda encompassing of all its participants who are part of the GNU coalition. We now know who the enemy of economic freedom is. Even if in the past they pretended to be a part of us and spoke like the forefathers of the emancipation movement. The battle lines have been drawn. It is the subject of the Oppenheimer, the GNU coalition versus the people of South Africa. The youth of this country will continue to chant economic freedom in our lifetime. We will continue to present bills in this house that call for expropriation of land without compensation. We will continue to call for nationalization of mines, banks, and other strategic sectors. We will push back against your corruption and hold the captains of the ruling class accountable. We will fight for the scrapping of student debt and continue to call for quality, free, and decolonized education in our lifetime. We will continue to call for free healthcare, housing, water, and sanitation. We will continue to remind you that the young people in this country deserve real jobs. Iseng mebereko ya utopa dipampiri internship is 6 months. We want industrial development, insourcing of security guards and cleaners, free pads, Mr. President, and all those rent manipulators to be arrested and to rot in jail. The people's power is rising in Africa, and we will not be left behind.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will now call upon...
Hello guys, I believe you have watched the video from Nalendi Chirwa. She's trying to lecture Ramaphosa for failing to fulfill his manifestos for a period of 7 years, ever since he got into the presidency. So there is so much truth that this lady talked about in this video, which I also believe you have also listened and you have seen. These are just a bit of the most of the politicians. They have ambitions. They tell the people or the citizen of the country that they are going to do this once they are elected. But when they are given the power, they fail to fulfill these manifestos. So I wonder where the problem usually comes from. In this video, Naledi, some of the people are saying that Naledi is not from South Africa and she should keep her mouth shut because she's from Zambia. And also others were saying that she should not listen. She should not be lecturing his elders like that. This is just the beginning of this thing. We need to start as youth, stand and point fingers to these politicians who fail to do their work correctly. Yeah, I know you may believe that EFF is having a bitterness since it lost election, and also since it is not in the coalition, it is not in the government. And that is not even the case here. The case here is that we want to see changes in most of the sectors. I know I'm not from South Africa, and me being a Kenyan, and I've seen we also have the similar situation where we also have the same exact thing where our president promised us youth jobs, and even he lured us that whenever we attend a certain ceremonies, will be giving us job abroad. So my question which kept on ringing is that why is the president keeping lying to everybody? Like every time he extend that on date of September, such date, this and this is going to happen. When that date reaches, nothing is happening. So it has been that way since he got into the office. And when you come to Kenya, you'll find that our president has done little things. When you go to the even South Africa, you'll find that they are believing that their president has done little. That's why the ANC never had that the majority, or were not. They had to form a coalition where people are right now losing faith in that party. It is just the same way where we're also losing faith in our president. When you have a conferences, we don't believe what he's saying because we know majority of the things he's going to talk about are not going to happen, or they're just there for show off. That's how our country has been. Now I want to read for you some of the comments which I got from this video, and some was saying that who does not rejoice in the passion of youth? May such a passion be informed and directed by the truth, so we can replace failure with prosperity and resentment with resolution, rather than depleting this passion on distraction, rather than creation in just another cycle of endless toil in this enchanted dust. This means that we need to start having that less talk and more action. We don't promise, we don't overpromise, we don't promise when you are happy, we don't promise just to make certain crowd happy. No, we need more action and less talk. When I say I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Nothing like that is full stop. There's nothing like, oh no, I wanted, need this. No, we want that when you do this, you're going to do that. Exactly. Then there's another person. Some want to recognize her as a foreign, which I already talked about that. But you never see the same for whites, all cause they are not the first generation. Everything she said is she wrong? Also, till empowerment comes, most will remain keyboard activists. And since R350 can only do that much, we will continue to lose more of our economy, our own land and financial freedom. Grow in knowledge and you will see no foreigners will ever scare South Africans. So that's what these people are saying. But me, I will recommend that this is the way forward. We don't need to keep these people, or we don't need to fear these people, because we are losing, majority of people are losing jobs, majority of people are going angry because of the failure of the government to create jobs for these youths. We are losing a lot. And when you go even to both countries, Tanzania, South Africa and Kenya, you'll find that the highest population of people who are unemployed are the youth. So a lot is really happening. Yet all of them are educated, yet all of them are having degrees, are having certificates, or are qualified for certain fields, but the government is not ready to create jobs. So I wonder what's really happening with these two countries. So that's the way forward to go. We don't need people who are overpromising and are doing less actions. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Golden Boy.